G'day guys, Shawnee from Life in Tennis. In today's video, I'll be recapping my last two rounds of Pennant, so rounds 8 and 9, in which I only played doubles. So yeah, the club competition that I play in Victorian Pennant, I've just got back into comp in the last couple of weeks after coming back from a soft tissue injury. And yeah, I filmed a video last week about my first match back, and I've also filmed another one of my match just past. So first of all, I'll show you my analysis of my first round back last week, which I played a best of 3 set doubles match, and then following that there'll be a video which I will basically break down the match on the past weekend. So here is the first analysis of my round 8 doubles match. Tricky match this week. We ended up going down, me and my doubles partner went down 6-3, 6-3 to quite a strong team. We played Donvale, who are basically a couple of ladder positions below us. We're actually sitting at 3rd on the ladder. Donvale at the moment are sitting at either 4th or 5th. I can't remember exactly, but we're all essentially on the same points right now. But yeah, the team that we played, they were the number 1 pair that we played. So yeah, one of the players, David Lowe, is a very, very strong doubles player, and he definitely got the best out of his partner this week, who I wouldn't normally have assumed would be a solid doubles player. But yeah, he was very, very solid. Both those guys were, David has a very, very good serve, very handy at the neck, very crafty lefty. So yeah, he was often, mixing up, changing direction, not always just going cross court, he would sometimes throw in a down the line shot, but he wouldn't necessarily hit the ball hard. He just was very accurate in what he did. So he can kind of catch you off guard if you weren't careful. And his partner Jay was just very, very solid from the back of the court. Really, really strong two-handed backhand. Every time, you serve to his backhand, he would just rip it cross court. If you tried to come in the net off of serve, he would dip the return down to your feet. So he was very good at adapting his return, depending on what part of the court you were at that point. So yeah, tricky match. And I found it's one of those matches where I'm sure we've all had those types of matches where it just felt like we got so many opportunities, but we just weren't able to capitalize on any of them. And most of the time, whenever we got those opportunities, they would just play clutch tennis, or they would force us to play too big a shot or try to go for too small a margin, whatever it is. So, it was just the pressure that they were continuing to apply throughout the whole match. Lots of positives there, even though we, 3-3 does sound like a relatively straightforward win or loss for us. Technically, it's only, I guess, 1 break each set, but the pleasing aspects of the match where we actually started off love 4 down in the first set. I was very, very rusty early on. Took me a while to find my range. We actually played on Ontakar, which is probably not. Well, then again, I wouldn't necessarily say it's not one of my favourite surfaces, but I would say that I'm more used to playing on Singgrass. I do love playing on the dirt, as we call it. It's not true clay like you get over in Europe, but I guess it's similar enough to, it's a slower surf, it's similar enough to clay. So, you have much more time on the ball than you would on a synthetic grass court. So, yeah, I generally do actually really enjoy playing on Ontakar, but it's more just, I'm just not used to playing on that surface because I don't get to practice on it very often. So, but yeah, it took me, I guess, 4 games to get into the match, but then we ended up, because we were down a double break to get to be love 4 down, we ended up breaking back to get it back to 4-2. And from there, it was basically just, serve for serve. We couldn't break again, unfortunately. If we'd just gone down 1 break, potentially we could have got it back on serve and then maybe push it to a tie break. But I still think it was, it was a tough match. The momentum was basically against us pretty much the whole time. I think if it had swung in our favour, I definitely believe we would have won the match. But it always felt like we were, fighting an uphill battle. We were always chasing, we were always down scoreline-wise the whole time. So yeah, it made it very tricky. The partner that I play with actually is, we usually pair up really, really well together, but both of us, probably had a little bit more of an off day than we normally do. Obviously I didn't start off great, but I definitely felt like I worked my way into the match quite well. I started to volley really, really well, as I said, second half of the first set onwards. Early on, I was missing a lot of, in fairness, very difficult volleys, a lot of volleys that were dipping right down at my feet. So struggling with them early, but then after a while I started to, find my rhythm, and I felt like I was really solid at the net, but it just felt like we were just a bit late to, to put things together. And it did feel like we'd play two really good points and then two really poor points, whereas our opponent stayed pretty solid throughout the whole match. Definitely think my partner was a little bit off for his normal, very, very lofty standards. He's, probably the best doubles player that, I've played with in club tennis. He's such a crafty player, very, very handy at the nets. He loves to serve volley. He basically serve volleys just about every point, at least every first serve and even on second serves. Or, even if he doesn't serve volley, he'll usually come in after the second or third shot of the rally. So he doesn't like to hang around at the baseline. And that's normally his strength. But yeah, he was, look, credit to our opponents. They gave him a lot of really, really tough volleys right down at his feet, and even a few like half volleys where he didn't have a chance to get up to the net quick enough. So that made life very, very tough for him. So look, I think our opponents just played a tactically better match than us, and they just overall played like their level didn't dip as much as ours did throughout the course of the match. Yeah, it just felt like we couldn't quite string enough good points together in a row to sort of really get our teeth stuck into the match. But as I said, from being love 4 down, I definitely think we wrestled back. Not that we wrestled back control, but at least we got our way back into the match and we gave ourselves a chance to, have a real crack at, maybe turning it around and, in our favour. So, yeah, look, overall, some positives there. I always like to look at the positives from a match. And of course, we always talk about the, room for improvements. So for me, the biggest room for improvement is mainly just to back myself, no matter what shot it is that I'm going for. So, there are a couple of times where I, for example, maybe didn't play the smart shot or the percentage shot at that point. Like as an example, on a return, I tried to rip a couple of forehands down the line because I was playing on the juice court on the forehand side, which is normally my strength. And yeah, I missed a few forehands by doing that. But the reason why I was doing that is because my opponent was so crafty at the net, and so he was poaching volleys. Yeah, like he was basically creeping across to the middle of the net, so he was always looking to cross. That I felt like it was a good idea to to test him down the line just to see if he was alert to that basically. And yeah, while I did miss it, I think I've still got to just back myself in when I do that and not be discouraged that I've just got to play smart tennis all the time. Because sometimes, it could be 1 point, one winner you hit, one, maybe a ridiculous shot or, not a smart shot that you play, but it can just give you enough fire and pump your team up enough that can completely change the complexity of a match. It's happened to me before. So I definitely believe, it can happen in doubles as well. So yeah, couple of times where I maybe backed myself, missed the shot, and then just try to go back to kind of basics. And not to say that that's the wrong thing to do at all, to play like percentage tennis. With doubles, obviously I'm talking about going cross court, during the rallies, trying to get into the net as quickly as you can. That's like playing percentages. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But what I'm trying to say is, not being afraid to every now and then just to throw in a big down the line forehand or a lob or or whatever it is, like trying to play a bit more of a crafty shot or an unexpected shot that your opponent's maybe not expecting. So especially when you're playing a really, really solid crafty doubles team, because I definitely think that because I missed those couple of shots, I got a bit discouraged to go after a more risky shot, and I decided to play it safe again, which was okay, but I still think that it did play into their hands on the weekend. So as I said, look, positives there, but and I guess the other room for improvement is just, it's not really a room for improvement, but it's just getting more match play under my belt, because sometimes you're just rusty because you just haven't played enough tennis, or you haven't played enough, say, competition tennis, which is different to just playing socially or practicing. So I think the first 4 games of the match, it's hard to say, I could have played better because I hadn't played, in a couple of weeks. So it was maybe inevitable that I was going to come out a little bit rusty. But the flip side of that, the positive of that was that I was trying to be aggressive. I was trying to stay true to my game, and I was, almost unrelenting in my approach to come into the net whenever possible. So I think that's what got me into the match sooner rather than later. Whereas I think if I'd stayed in my shell and just tried to bunt to the return back and just kind of, play more defensive, we could have lost the set 6 love. You know what I mean? So I might have got the ball over the net, but I would have played right into their hands. So I think being aggressive, coming into the net really did actually work in our favour. We just unfortunately couldn't capitalise on our opportunities, and both of us were just a little bit off for our normal kind of standards. So yeah, guys, my round 9 match on the weekend just passed. It was only a superset, so first to 8 game set with a tiebreak at 8-all. And yeah, unfortunately, again, for the second week in a row, me and my partner lost 9-7. So yeah, really, really close. When I say second week in a row, not the second week in a row that I lost 9-7, but the second week in a row that I've lost. Except for this time was a bit more painful because we actually had a chance to serve it out at 7-6 up after being 4-6 down. So yeah, really, really disappointing one. This one very hard to take, especially given that we were basically, I feel like we were controlling the match the whole way through. We were able to break first nearly every time, but every single time we broke, we basically got broken back. So yeah, we had plenty of chances throughout the match. Basically, like nearly every game, it was a bit of a funny match. Nearly every game went to juice. Even games where we were like 40 love or down love 40 went to juice. So yeah, it was just one of those really random close matches. I think in the end, the main factor I would say is the wind. We probably didn't play the conditions as well as our opponents did. But at the same time, I still felt like we were going to win the match. So essentially, just to very quickly break down what happened. So essentially, it was kind of game for game. As I said early on, we did get a break, but then we sort of broke back, and it sort of went like that until about 4-all, where we got broken, and then they held serve. So we were 4-6 down, and my partner, basically smashed his racket because he was just absolutely fed up with what was going on the tennis court. And me and my partner, Rick, we've known each other for 20 odd years, roughly. So we've known each other a long, long time. Probably one of the people I've known the longest in my life in general, one of the friends I've known the longest. So we've had a chat about this since then, and, we're both very comfortable kind of, showing our emotions on the court. I don't feel the same way about most people I play with on a court, but with Rick, me and Rick, we're both very open to, let out our frustration, which is a good thing, I guess, because we know there's that outlet there that neither of us is going to judge the other player. And I knew when I saw that I just had to lift him up, had to, boost him to just be like, let's put that behind us. Come on, we can come back here. And I referenced some past matches that we've had where we've made some really good comebacks, had some really good wins. Funnily enough, from 4-6 down, from that moment when he broke his racket, we ended up winning the next 3 games to get it to 7-6. So yeah, just went into lockdown mode, just started playing, amazing tennis, and had a chance to serve it out. Fortunately, couldn't do it, which was frustrating. But then, we were 7-8 down, and I was serving, got to 40 love, and then the unthinkable happened, and I somehow lost the next 5 points. So yeah, not sure quite how that happened after being 40 love up, but it was very, very bitter pill to swallow. First of all, the positives from the match, I honestly felt like that was one of the best doubles matches I've played in terms of particularly my volleys. I don't think I've volleyed better, and one of the main reasons behind that was I took a bit more of a risk with my court positioning at the net. So I was standing much closer to the middle than I normally am. And I found that I was able to poach a lot more volleys than I normally do, and definitely help, give confidence to my partner to know that he wouldn't have to engage in long, grueling rallies from the baseline, that I would always be there ready to cross. So yeah, I definitely think that contributed to, how well we were, playing overall, and the fact that I genuinely believe we were the better team, or we were at least controlling the match for the majority of it. We just got a bit unlucky at times, plus it was very, very windy, which made it really tough, and unfortunately we didn't handle the wind as well as our opponents did. Our opponents still had some issues too, and like I said, we were serving for it at 7-6, so we definitely had our chances, and we had that 40 love to take it to a tiebreak at 7-8 down. So yeah, it was a combination of factors, but I guess the positive from my point of view was, first of all, that not just that I thought I played one of my best doubles matches of recent times and one of my best net performances, put out before in a doubles match, but also the fact that I really believe that I helped to lift my partner up and play better tennis and get him up after breaking his racket. So those were the two real positives for the day. Looking at the room for improvements, for me, the biggest room for improvement is just those pressure points when you have chances to to serve out a match, or the break points or game points you have, just to play them a bit smarter, maybe a bit smarter tactically. Like, I'm not necessarily sure, like, to me it didn't feel like there's not really an obvious like, oh, what should we have done tactically different to what we did on the day, other than just execute a bit better, which is a very, like, it's hard to know how to do that in the heat of the moment, because I felt like we did so well to get to the position that we were in, but then we just weren't able to like capitalize. So and I think one of the reasons why we weren't able to do that is, we weren't getting in, like, for example, at 7-6, my partner probably wasn't getting in, a lot of his first serves. And so our opponents kind of felt like they had nothing to lose, and they were just swinging freely on the second serve returns, which made it really tough, especially in the wind, for my partner to get back, a really aggressive return. So, it's hard to say, how do you, pick that up, other than just maybe slow down the first serve, put a bit more spin on his first serve, just to at least allow that first serve to go in. Because what I often find in tennis in general, whether it's singles or doubles, is that no matter how fast your first serve is, how much spin it is on it, you generally won't get attacked as much on your first serve as you do your second, mainly because your opponent isn't expecting, is expecting it to be like a bigger shot. They're expecting, like, they're not sort of in that frame of mind to step in and really like be aggressive on that return. Whereas on second serves, most players will step in a bit, step into the baseline. So I think that's one of the things that maybe we could do a little bit better, is increase the first serve percentage, especially if we start missing a few first serves, just to slow down the pace, maybe put a little bit more spin, and at least not put pressure on ourselves by having to face second serve returns, these monster returns that we were facing. I guess the second point, maybe that area of improvement, or something we can learn from, is just to handle the conditions a bit better, especially given how windy it was. Because I think if it was perfect conditions with no wind, we would have won that match. I've got absolutely no doubt about that. But I think because it was windy, that did make it a bit difficult. And look, I would say my honest view is I felt I played better in the wind than my partner, and even he admitted that. But I still felt like I did miss shots in pressure moments that I didn't miss earlier on. And honestly, I didn't feel like I missed that many, but I think especially towards like the tail end of the set, I was missing returns that I just shouldn't have been missing, given the circumstances. So, and I think a lot of it was because I was putting pressure on myself to be strong mentally for my partner, just given how frustrated he was breaking his racket and all the rest of it. So maybe I was also putting added pressure on myself, but for the most part I felt like I was rising to the occasion, rising to the challenge. So but I think in terms of how to play the conditions better, it's easier said than done. Wind is a tricky one, but I think with wind, one of the main things is just to try to keep the ball a little bit lower over the net, which obviously maybe puts a bit more risk on your shots, but the more that you float the ball up in the air, the more that the wind can just take it and just, and the ball can just go anywhere. So I think, cutting through the wind by hitting a little bit lower, still with spin, obviously, in margin, but, maybe not kind of trying to be as aggressive, but trying to just keep the ball low, and even, utilizing slice a bit more, which obviously is a bit tricky in doubles because, slice can bring your opponent's net player into the game. But I think, just things like that. And also just trying to shorten points with, with volleys and things like that, to not have as many long rallies from the back, because that obviously puts pressure on the opponent, on my partner, to, engage in a difficult rally under, in difficult conditions with the wind. So, I think, look, I think it's easier said than done, but I think, when it's a windy day, you can't really play your normal game style most of the time. You've almost got to make a slight adjustment to make up for that. So yeah, they're probably the two learnings from my match. But yeah, look, overall, while it was really, really disappointing, I think, we definitely played really good tennis, and I don't think we're very far away from having a good win and hopefully opening the floodgates for lots of wins on the doubles court. So, and personally, I definitely felt like it was one of my better doubles matches, despite the loss. I might not have sounded like It was a very good doubles match, but that was only because, like I said, I just felt like we were controlling the match and we just couldn't quite convert our chances when we needed to at those crucial pressure moments. But yeah, overall the team won 5-1, so my partner was able to win a good singles match, and all of our players in our team won their singles matches, and we won our other doubles match. So yeah, we ended up winning the day, which was really pleasing. And yeah, just a really good day of tennis, and we needed the points as well because we're sitting in third, and yeah, with fourth and fifth breathing down our necks. So and they both lost 6-love, so they lost every single match against the two top teams. So that definitely helped our cause, give us a bit of breathing room in third spot. But yeah, this week is a bye, so there will be no tennis this weekend, but the following week I will most likely be playing singles and doubles, so against the second team who are really, really strong. So really looking forward to that challenge. But anyway, guys, as always, please like and subscribe for more life and tennis related content, and please comment below for any of your updates regarding, club competitions that you're playing in, or yeah, tournaments that you're playing at the moment, and how you're feeling, how you're playing, and all the rest of it. Anyway, guys, I will see you in the next video. See you later.